For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Camping and Leisure, me Mike. Today I'm giving you a bit more of a tutorial video about how to attach and how to pitch your driveway awning onto your motorhome or your T5. So what I'm going to use for the video is a Vango keeler, probably one of the best selling inflatable driveway awnings on the market. I'm just using our hire motorhome here, which is the rail height's about 250. So I'm going to talk for a little bit about the attachments as well, but we do separate videos for that. So first thing obviously I want to do really is open the awning up. So we'll just grab it out of the bag. You've got sort of a nice open bag like so. Just spread her out, and what we'll do is just open her up, just sort of spread her out into position, and then good slide the fixing kit on, and then thread her through the wind-up awning I've got on the side of here. So we'll put that to the side for the time being. So joys of obviously driveway awnings is the fact that you can, as the name suggests, drive away from them. So if you want to pop down to the sort of the shops for a pint of milk or anything like that, you can quite happily detach it from your vehicle, leave it freestanding, leave your equipment inside of it, drive to the shops, get your milk, come back and reattach it very simply. So the joys of it all is the fact that it just means you can leave something as a base back at the site without having to worry about packing everything up. So that's the front. So we'll swing that round. So what I'm going to use to fix it on is what we call a driveway fixing kit. So it's on the back of here you've got like a 6mm cader. It's like a type of beading. That normally fits through your bottom of your fiamma or wind out awning. But because that's 6mm, you need a 4mm adjustment. So I've got a driveway kit which consists of a figure of 8 and a fillet strip, which actually changes it to the correct size I need to feed it through. So if we wind the awning out, but winding the awning out just makes it a bit more easier height to get to. I mean, initially I'm going to do probably the whole thing on my own, but if you've got an extra person, it really does help, you know, make quite a bit of difference. Just sort of small little things that quite make it, you know, change it. 2 hands are always better than 1 in most cases. So now I'm just going to feed the fixing kit on. So this sort of breaks down into 3 different parts just to make it easier for storing. Last bit to try and do a runner. On you go. Perfect. So now I've attached the fixing kit onto the driveway awning, what we do is then feed it into the bottom part. There's a small little slit here in the fiamma awning, so it would quite happily neatly fit inside of that. So in she goes. Can be quite fiddly. Like I say, if you've got an extra person just to give you a hand, it does make quite a bit of a difference. Yeah, again, with some awnings, you probably need to support the actual awning part as well. So now it's on there, what I'm going to do is just bring it across, position it where I want it to. Bring that nice across. So I want to go right over the door. One thing to bear in mind, cheaper awnings, sometimes the bracing bars aren't as strong, so it's advisable to just as then give it a bit of extra support. But if I now wind that back in, and it clicks into place. So the first thing I want to do now is peg it nice and close to the vehicle. Reason being, it just gets it sitting nice and tight before you pull it out and peg it out any further. So really, I personally like to use some sort of strong V-short pegs like so. Now ideally what I'm trying to achieve here, like I said, is trying to get it close to the vehicle. So I actually probably peg it underneath the vehicle, just to get in to try and make it best tight. Now ideally you want to sort of bow it a slightly bit out, so it's not completely vertically down, but just a little bit out to the side. Peg. But I said I like to use these sort of V-shaped pegs, just because I find they certainly in softer ground, they provide the strongest sort of fix to it. And like I said, still inserting the peg at about a 45-degree angle, really just to make sure it holds nicely. And the same on this side, so a little bit out, but still position it sort of underneath. And so inserting the pegs at a 45-degree angle and hammer that in nicely. Perfect. So now it's physically attached to the awning. What I'm going to essentially do, you've got two ways to do it. You can either inflate it now and pull it out, or peg it then inflate it. Doesn't really matter each way. The one thing is obviously when you're pegging it, in fact we'll do pegging method. So I want to make sure it's nice and straight in line there and give it sort of a bit of tension. You can actually change this point after you've done it once. Doesn't matter too much, but it's really just getting it so it sort of free stands once you start inflating it up. So like I said, nice and straight. And I still use a nice strong peg for the main corner points. Perfect. And then we'll do the same on the other side. So really you try and create this perfect sort of rectangle shape. And sort of again pulling against each side. Get a good amount of tension there. Now a thing to make just note of is the fact the door is left open. Really this is to allow air inside the awning, so when you start pumping it up, it's not going to be fighting itself like a vacuum. So anything, doors you can leave open initially to peg it up, is better. Yeah, again, it just creates less resistance. Once we've actually got it up and come to peg it out afterwards, then we'll shut the doors up, just make sure it's all nice and tight really. So at this point, grab our pump. So you've got a nice dual action hand pump, so as you're pumping up and down, it's more than happily doing the work for you. Yeah, again, I personally probably like to start with the beam closest to the vehicle, just a habit of myself, just because it sort of then elevates this part here. So let's have a go. That's the first one done, nice and simply. So like I said, the whole process is pretty darn quick, to be fair. And like I say, one person can put it on their own. If you want to have a second person, it's not going to do any harm. I mean, there are some electric pumps you can look at, the Vango do and other companies do as well. So if you don't want to do the hand pump, you've got some alternatives. So what we'll do is zip the door up now, just to make sure when we fully peg it out, it's all okay. Get it looking lovely, neat and tidy. So what we now do on the side here, you've got the ability up here like an adjustment strap. Really it's just to make it fit a bit snugger to the side of the awning, and really just a case of stopping the draft coming down the outside. So you can just take it up like so. And actually, because this is actually sort of the lower end of the spectrum, one thing you will find is that you will get some slack, not only here but in the top. Really it's down to the fact of where the parameters fit. So things like the low version of this is sort of from 180 to about 210. So when you're in that sort of lower bracket again, it's got extra slack to take up. So this one being the sort of the tall version, goes up all the way to sort of 280, 290. This being at 250, there's a lot of material it needs to take up. So that's why it is looking a bit sag. But even so, you can see just a small little ridge, but that roof part is still tight. And we've still got the other side to do as well. So that's looking pretty good, to be fair. And because you've got that tightness here, you can still use this side door without having to worry about sort of, you know, entering all the way through the awning to get into the start part. You won't actually see there's still a little bit of a gap here. It's going to happen mainly because the awning sits proud and that's pulling it forward. There's no real way around that, and this part here is purely just actually some sort of shelterish area to get into your awning. It's not actually watertight, so you always are going to get a little bit of a gap there. What I'll do now is just peg out the sort of storm straps we've got on the front just to get tension in the roof. Let's grab some pegs. So my main motto with anything like guide ropes or anything like that is sort of wider the better. So the sort of thing I always tend to sort of say over and over again is you've got to think of it in terms of yourself being inside of the wind. So if if the wind's blowing a gale, are you stronger necessarily more like that, where your feet are quite narrow, or with a wider stance? That way you probably got more way of bracing yourself. So that's the same sort of principle I apply really with the guide ropes, so making sure they're nice and wide, pretty much wide as possible. Just that way, again, you could say, you know, you've got a bit more stability there. So everything's all neatly tidied up. And again, by having it sort of probably the furthest out it would go, it means once you get a bit of sort of guide rope slippage, which is going to happen, it just means you've already got a bit you can quite happily adjust without having to do the sort of re-pegging it the whole time. So again, a small little tip there, I think just makes quite a bit of difference. If I don't mind fighting with these, of course. Oops, easy. In you come. Probably get a bit more tension out front actually. So you can quite happily a bit more tension on that front part. We'll do the other side while I'm at it. So the reason I'm yet again probably guide rope, even though the main 4 points are still allowing the driver awning to stay in position, by guying it first, what I find is if you get a bluster or a gale, you've got some sort of strength with the guide ropes on the side, you see. So it just means, worst case scenario, you've got support. I mean, if we do a sort of sped up pitching and packing video of this particular item, so if you wanted to necessarily see it in the flesh, and we got it in again real time, so if you don't want me sort of waffling on a fair bit, check out that little video as well. Like I said, we do have other videos on our YouTube channel which you can look at, sort of on about different adjustments and attachments to how you can put it onto the side of your sort of vehicle. So now we've got one last guide rope to do. So it's pretty much freestand. Now I can basically go around and just tweak the corners. So first one point I want to probably do is this entranceway here. So pulling this pegging point back against the door will allow me to sort of open this door out and shut it easily enough. And you've got these parts on the base again to tense it internally. So in she goes. Nice little ventilation panel there. We'll just open up to get a good circulation in air inside the awning. One thing I always try and do as well is, same with the guy, like I said, the guy ropes, put them on its sort of furthest most points so you can basically take it in if you need to make actual tension. Do the same with sort of pegging points as well. So put them on its furthest point, and if need be, you can then sort of adjust them in, like so. So that original pegging point's pretty still good actually. So still trying to keep a nice straight rectangle shape. And our last, by no means least, With the Vango models, what you also get as well is an additional beam just to brace that roof. So when you leave it freestanding, you've still got some sort of structure there. So that's the final part of the puzzle. It's only a small extra beam, doesn't really take much time to inflate as well. Initially, the pegs you get with it are fairly alright. I mean, I would personally probably recommend getting something a little bit extra wherever you're on sort of hard standing. Yeah, again, some sort of rock pegs are probably a bit more of a better way to look at it, really. So I'll just go inside and insert this one in. Second zip here. Perfect. Here we are. And then give that a bit of extra tension. Much better. So I say there you go. Doesn't really take very long, to be fair. Like I said, using this sort of pitch method, as you can see, one person can more than happily do it on their own, and it's not really strenuous at all. Like I say, apart from the pumping, there's not really much physical effort to it. So, like I say, you can still look down lines of buying electric pumps if you don't want to do the pumping at all. But you're talking no more than sort of 15, 20 pumps on that pump anyway for this particular item. Obviously, there are different ranges that you can look at, sort of like the Cruise, the Galley, the Idris, and obviously other models as well. But this sort of same pitching method can be used pretty much with any drive-away inflatable awning. So, like I said, really simple. And if you want to know a bit more about sort of heights and what awnings will fit what, you can always contact us at Attwoolls. We're more than happy to help you guys out. In fact, bring your sort of motorhomes, your T5s in. We can always measure them and sort of say what your best options are. So, but in essence, obviously you can clearly see how simple and quick and easy it is to put one of these up. And yet again, detaching is no different. But check out the deflation video and how we pack it all up as well, if you are curious about that. But in essence, that's how you pitch an inflatable driveway awning.